What's going on, peeps? MMDVG here, and today I wanted to talk to you a lot about horror and video games. Alright, so essentially this is going to be like a new type of video that I'm doing. I wanted to really, since I hit 200 subscribers, I really wanted to get my thoughts together and actually, have a talking piece for you guys so we can all talk about something in the comment section, have conversations. And basically, these type of videos, I wanted to just share my opinion on a current topic that I always thought about. It can be new and old. It's just a random thing I can just say my thoughts on. Basically, what I really wanted to touch up on was the fact that horror in video games has been so drastically different. It's been so different, but it evolves over time, like I said. But there was a point in time that horror games was really stagnant. Horror was so horror evolved every year, but there was a point in time it was so stagnant around 2012 to 2017, I would say, maybe until now. And I wanted to touch up on one of the actual games that did cause it. I was going to talk about Outlast. In all fairness, Outlast isn't a bad game at all. Outlast is actually a really good game, and that I'm not dissing Outlast. I'm not disrespecting Outlast. It's a really good horror game, but it did kind of ruin horror in general in the gaming EthoSphere, because Outlast came with a system that was so replicable that every other game company replicated that. You know what I mean? Outlast, you played as a skinny protagonist, first person, jump scares here, jump scare there, no weapons, running around, hiding, solving simple puzzles from going from A to B. The story is complete. Jump scare. That's not the full Outlast game, but that's just the formula that I'm talking about. I'm basically referring to that, and not Outlast 2. Outlast 2 kind of sucked, but it was a good game, but it wasn't as good as the first one. That Outlast left horror so stagnant that everybody tried to basically become the next Outlast. If that makes any sense. Everybody wanted to just do the same thing. First person, jump scare, run here, run there, running from enemies, not fighting back, jump scare, quick time event, loosely rebellious story, spirits here, spirits there. It's the same psychological horror type game that just keeps coming out and just keeps being replicated and just keeps doing what Outlast did, and it doesn't really do a good job. The biggest example I can take from this is Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 was a first person game. There's not a lot of Resident Evil games that are completely first person throughout the entire story. Keep in mind that. You don't it was completely different, but it felt like I was playing an Outlast DLC. And it just didn't feel like Resident Evil per se. It felt like just a different game with the Resident Evil brand to it. Not saying that it was bad, but it was just really first person jump scare here, jump scare there, first person jump scare here, evil science, blah blah blah, jump scare here. And that's basically what it kind of bugged me that it kind of it was like that. I'm pretty sure it bugged a lot of people. It was still a good game, but Outlast really did mess up horror in games because it made you feel the need that it made you feel like jump scares are absolutely and positively necessary for when creating a good atmosphere in a horror game, and that is completely far from factual. And that's basically what I always thought about. You don't need to be Outlast Junior to be a good horror game. You need to establish horror and establish tension. Outlast 1 established horror within its own story, within its own lore, within its own plot. And by the way, this is unscripted, so if I mess up, I'm not really good at skip over. But it was in its own plot. It was in its own world. That was the world of Outlast. You don't need to copy Outlast. What made Outlast successful? It's just you see a famous athlete. That you can't follow what the famous athlete does by the numbers, and then you will achieve success the same way they did, because you're not the athlete. That's like me copying LeBron James. Say I play basketball and I try to copy LeBron James and everything he does, and I fail. I'm not LeBron James. You know what I mean? I'm not that person. So that's not the recipe for success. You know what I mean? You can pick apart the good parts about everything. Outlast had really good tension at times and really good fear of the unknown. You walk into a room, you're all right, what's gonna happen here? but you like taking too much from Outlast is never gonna warrant a good game. It's just gonna warrant you taking a lot from Outlast. Anybody can take a lot from Outlast. I can literally take Outlast, take out the hospital, not the hospital, put the mental ward, and like put you in like a big mansion. Boom, Resident Evil 7. Take Outlast, put you in some caves. Boom. There was a game I played on Steam. I think it's called. I don't want to call the game out, so I'm not gonna say what it's called. But it's a free to play game, and it kind of reminded me of that. And I'm like, you don't really need to rely on jump scares, first person to make a good horror game. You don't. If you like, look at Dead Space. Dead Space is one of the greatest horror games I ever played. The first one. Second was pretty good too. The third one, the first one, established so much tension. It had you literally scared. It had me scared to walk into rooms. It literally had me scared to walk into rooms, and I was afraid of turning corners. I was afraid of going too far. Like, all right, I don't want nothing to pop out. Like, it had you scared. It like a lot of times there weren't no enemies in any rooms, but it had you thinking they were. There were so many psych outs, and it was a perfect space horror game. It was a perfect horror game, and it didn't rely on tropes to scare you. It made you psych yourself out. It made you psych yourself out. And a lot of games don't do that no more. They're not really good at capturing it. Like, look at Blair Witch. Blair Witch is basically Outlast of the Forest. And it's just so like, I was so excited for Blair Witch, and I played it, and I was like, it's a lot of just walking aimlessly, walking, oh, look at this witch stick, take it down, pet bullet, walking, shine your flashlight, shine it a little brighter, enemies disappear, more walk. It didn't feel like an actual game that could stand on its 2 feet. I didn't feel like I was playing a Blair Witch game. It felt like I was playing an Outlast mod inside of a forest. And I don't mean to rip into the game. The gameplay was enjoyable. The visuals was nice. The story was pretty cool, but it just didn't feel like I couldn't get invested in it because it relied too many on tropes. It relied on, oh, jump scare, oh, this is happening, or maybe it's not. It relied too much on that instead of just its own solid story. The Blair Witch story and lore is perfect enough. You don't need to make it, you don't need to do any, and like they just tried too hard to feed into the tropes that other horror games already did, and it didn't feel like its own game in its own right, if that makes any sense. Outlast 2 in and of itself was too ambitious. Games can be too ambitious, I'm not gonna lie. Games can be way too ambitious for their own good. They feel like they need to establish some sort of ambitious prowess when it comes to delivering a game. You don't really need that you didn't need that for Outlast 2. The spaces were too wide, first of all. The areas was too big. There was a lot of aimless walking around in the levels, and it led to confusion and boredom. You don't really need that. And then Jumpscare City, it kept trying to do jump scares when you see, like, you can see when the jump scare is coming. Every time there was a cutscene, there was a jump scare. You can feel when there's a jump scare coming, and it just felt so disingenuous. Like, I felt so disconnected playing Outlast 2, and I never really feel disconnected with playing a horror game. And Outlast 2 just felt like, oh man, like, it was really convoluted. Like, the plot was really like, you don't really know the plot. You don't know what the hell is going on unless you find a collectible that you wouldn't even notice, that you wouldn't pass off. Which, like, exposition in games is not bad if done correctly. You can tell me the story of a game without fully giving away everything or over expositioning everything. You can tell me how the story is. You can tell me, like, reveal it as the story goes along. A lot of Outlast 2 led to me wondering what the hell was going on. There was like no clear sign. I didn't know what the hell was going on, so it kind of confused the hell out of me, if you know what I mean. And I just didn't like that. But that's kind of what I said. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, Outlast kind of ruined horror in games because horror established fear of the unknown and building tension, and Outlast kind of just made it so that to make a game scary, you just need jump scares and jump scares and jump scares and jump scares and first person, not attacking enemies. It was just really did that. And a lot of games started to copy that. A lot of horror games just started to copy that system, and like, it led to horror games being so not ambitious, and it led to them just being another Outlast. And that's all I really have to say, guys. This is just more like just a talk with you guys. But that's all I gotta say. MMDVG signing out. There'll be a Rainbow Six Siege video, I think, dropping tomorrow or Sunday. Tomorrow, if you guys want, I could do a prediction on the Logan Paul and KSI fight, because if you guys didn't know, I'm a really big boxing fan, and I'm really analytical when it comes to sports, and I like, it may not look like it, but I do know a lot about that type of world, so I can really give you an unbiased opinion, because truthfully, they're both chill people, so I don't really have nothing against neither one of them. So I can give you a very unbiased opinion about the whole fight if you guys want that. But anyways, I'll see you guys peeps later. And that wraps up this part of the video for today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I drop a new video every day. If you can check out my Patreon, where anyone who subscribes gets exclusive access to behind the scenes features, Discord roles, and merch discounts, that would be perfect. Also, check out my clothing line, 40xlclothing.com. I have the hottest street merch in New York City. This is MMDVG signing out, my beautiful people. Bye.